Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. I am Juice, and today I'm talking about my campaign that we're only a few sessions in, but it's my family D&D campaign. You may hear me talk about it as my family game, because I currently run a few games. I run encounters every week. I run my game that's always at our house with some friends, and then I run the family game of D&D 5e. Originally, when I started this campaign, it was called the Black Hand Mystery, or Mystery of the Black Hand, however you want to refer to it. And you know, the first few sessions, I set up a lot really quick and threw them into the story that I had kind of made an outline for. Now, obviously, they could have went different directions with it, but they did follow the breadcrumbs. Now, last night's, or 2 sessions ago, so not last night's, but the session before, they found out a necromancer had been behind people turning up missing and zombies with their arms severed from the elbow down. So they found out a necromancer had to do with that. They found his lair, which was in the cave, a letter. And I made a little prop for it. This was the letter. This was the symbol that was left on the missing person's doors, and this ended up being the symbol for who the guy was actually working with. And I set some things up for further down the line with the first letter. So they did not really get a chance to engage with the necromancer. He had a secret door, went out the back, and got away. But it set up the reoccurring villain, one of them. So as last night's session kicked off, they had camped outside of that cave. They found a nice area they thought was safe, camped, and began their travels. And once again, this is the second time now, I threw them up against bullywugs. Now, in this encounter, they fought 13 bullywugs and 6 giant toads. For a total of 1850 in XP. But the bullywugs were in water. They kind of came up on a creek. I'll kind of show you the little map thing I drew out. It's like that. That little part is some land in the river. Oops, can't see it right there. That's like some land in the river, and the water kind of passes around it on both sides. So the players got into combat, and the sorcerer ended up using lightning bolts into the water. And so she was able to hurt most of the bullywugs. In fact, at one point she used her spell points to hurt all the bullywugs in the water, so she could hit multiple places. So I let her hit various targets by electrocuting the water and hurting the bullywugs that were in it. So that was very, very effective. The wizard was using magic missile. The cleric used magic missile, I believe, from a wand that they had got in the previous adventure. And so while it was kind of tough, they actually handled the bullywugs pretty easily. I mean, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting. And in fact, I had planned a whole nother part if they would have failed, basically, that they didn't get to experience, which is fine. It's now in my back pocket, and I can use it again sometime. I'm kind of looking forward to that. So yeah, so that was the bullywug ambush. And so it took them, so they continued to travel. They did another rest overnight, and then realized they were probably they'd be able to get to Moorkeep by the end of the day, but it would probably be close. It would probably be pretty late when they got there. So as they approached Moorkeep, I read a few different things to them. Well, before I even get to that, I should mention also I did a white elephant for the players before the session. And so I let them each pick one item. They didn't know what it did. They just got a description of what it looked like. And so they were each able to pick something, which they would get at a later point. So I'll tell you about that in a minute. But yeah, so all 6 picked different things. All right. So then, as they approached the town of Moorkeep, there's a couple things I read to them. I said when they're about 2 miles out, they're and the sun is starting to go down. They can see an orange glow in the sky from where the city is. Right away, one of the players said, "Uh-oh, the town's on fire." It was. Then, when they were about a mile out, when they're about a mile out, they can actually see the fire. Some of the buildings on fire. When they get within about a half mile, I explained to them that they could actually start to hear some screaming and make out some dots moving around in town. And then I said as well that they could see the portcullis to the keep is open, and it appears as though a few guards are letting the civilians into the keep, which is the players had already known that's unheard of pretty much, so they knew this was pretty serious. I also said that they could see what appeared to be a winged creature flying over the keep every so often in what appeared to be a flyby. And every now and then they'd see a lightning bolt shoot down from this winged creature and hit something. Upon shortly entering the town, they saw a man limping and a few children dash out in front of them. Still about 60 feet ahead, they also saw a woman with a spear step out from the alley, turn around, and start fending off 6 kobolds. And so that's how I started it. And so they were 60 feet out. We set them up and let them do their thing. The cleric did manage, the peasant woman was taken down right away. And the cleric, on her turn, gave up an attack of opportunity to get to the woman to revive her or to stabilize her. Then the next encounter after they took care of that and they had the woman, the 3 children, and the husband, the next encounter I had 4 kobolds and a mercenary. And then I said also that an older man is suited up in a similar outfit to the cleric in our party with the same types of symbols. I'm sorry, that's the third encounter. Second encounter, I said that a bunch of guys, as they were coming up to the tavern they were familiar with, 4 kobolds and a mercenary came out, and the building quickly went up in flames. And so they fought them. Then the third encounter was this guy wearing the same cleric outfit almost as our cleric, like chainmail, certain symbols, things like that. And he was defending a woman and her child against 2 mercenaries and 3 kobolds. So they fought and protected, saved these people, and then they found out the cleric was this crazy guy that they had heard of before and met before, named Virgil Errant, who had lost his wife to the Black Hand thing. So so they found out about him being he's basically an acolyte. But so then they managed to get everyone to the keep, into the cave or inside. The gate shut behind them because it didn't look like there were any more civilians that needed to be rescued. And then I gave the players their chance to fight a giant blue dragon on top of the portcullis. So I had 2 towers and then like a walkway between the 2 towers. And I said there was a ballista on each tower. There were a bunch of guards up there. And the way I started it is the second round they were up there, the dragon came by and picked a guy up and flung him, tail whipped the second guy, and then lightning bolt to the next 2 guys, all before the players could do anything. And then I let the players do their stuff. It was pretty awesome. I had written in my notes that the dragon would flee after 30 hit points of damage were taken, because he had an armor class of 19. He has like 4 attacks per round. He deals 12 d10 damage with his lightning bolts, breath weapon. But the players were doing pretty well. They had a sound strategy. And so I think they ended up taking almost 200 points of damage off of the dragon in the course of a few rounds because I let him each use the ballista. And, guiding bolt did some damage. And, yeah, they had some good magic missile a couple times, did some good damage. So it worked out pretty well. And then I had the dragon flee. Then I had the half dragon and a whole slew of kobolds and mercenaries approach the portcullis and call out the mayor of the town and tell him he wanted to face the town's champion. If he won, then he wanted the town to fork over all their treasure and they would spare their lives. If he lost, he said that his men would leave the town and what they already have is it, and that's that. So the mayor thinking, well, hey, all I have to do is lose one person at this point. Yes, let's do it. Went and tried to find a champion. Virgil followed him. Virgil wanted to volunteer, which would have been instant. He would have died. But one of the players did step up, which I expected him to. And the battle went down a ways. I mean, it was a good battle. And eventually the player won, actually, without any fudging of dice or anything. It helped that he was blessed before he walked out. And it helped that he has damage reduction from heavy armor mastery feat. So, that was good. And then he has the duelist fighter ability because that was one of the paths he took. And all my players are 3rd level, by the way. But yeah, he won. He won the fight, got the half dragon to 0 hit points, and he ended up getting down to, I think, like 12 or something, somewhere in there. So it was a good battle. And as soon as he killed the half dragon, the kobolds immediately turned and just started running. The mercenaries kind of waited a second, and then they left once they realized all the kobolds had left. So this is where the white elephant came in. So after the battle, the half dragon was laying there in his full plate, and the mayor offered to get a blacksmith to take care of that. Offered the players a room for the night in the nice part of town. Would give them any food, drinks, anything they wanted, free of charge for saving the city. Gave them, I think, like 1,000 gold. I mean, he was just elated that they saved the day. The next morning, he took them all to the vault and said, I want to give you guys something if you'll, track this group down and take them out, basically. And so the players agreed. And so he took them to the vault, and basically everything they chose as their white elephant gifts, I basically had him give them. And he just handed each one a different thing. They were wrapped and stuff. So the players, they couldn't actually see what it was necessarily. So the fighter who took out the half dragon, he chose a backpack, looked like a generic backpack, because I had little strips of paper and I just had what it was. And so, like, for instance, I had things like a 1-foot rod, a wand that had spider webs on it, a crystal helmet, a turtle shell helmet. I mean, all sorts of different things. So anyways, the fighter who beat the half dragon took a backpack. Now that backpack ended up being called the Backpack of Effortlessness. It renders items placed within it weightless. So no matter what, this backpack is extremely light. Our wizard took the crystal helmet, and it was an invisible helmet. So basically when he puts it on, his head disappears and goes invisible. That's it. You can see the rest of it, just not his head. He was so bummed out. And I said, well, think about it. You could peek out over hills or around corners and nobody's going to see you. It's going to look like nothing, like nobody's looking. It's like, so you could actually use that to your advantage. And Benny was like, oh, yeah, that's true. Good idea. And so he kind of liked that. The sorcerer chose a glass globe with a highly compressed and positively furious air elemental trapped within. So this, it is exactly what it says. It's like basically it's like a snow globe with an air elemental inside. If she breaks it, the air elemental will come out and fight anything near it. I mean, he's pissed. He's been trapped in a ball forever. It's kind of funny too, but yeah. And so it's not going to be something she can necessarily befriend or anything like that, but she can use it to fight battles. Like she could just throw it and it smash and just fight anything near it, unless it's probably an air elemental. If she could figure out a way to communicate with it, I'd possibly let her try and train it, but it would leave very quickly. Our half-orc fighter chose the sword with music notes on it. And basically it's a sword +1 to hit when it is sung to. It will dance as it strikes. The sword's name is Prancer. What I also said is if she sings, it'll dance around if she's attuned to it, and she can have it attack as on its own. So it'll be like a dancing sword and then just attack things. It's like an animated sword, and she can use her other weapon at the same time. So it's almost like giving her an extra attack. And don't worry, I do have a way to take care of this in the future. My cleric picked up a mace of healing. Does 1d6 damage, but then it heals 1d4. Kind of sucks, but what I also told her it could do is max Cure Light Wounds once per day. So she'll have to be attuned to it. And she can, as long as she's wielding that, she can do 1 max Cure Light Wounds per day. So it's more like a wand. So yeah. Yeah, and so that was all the items. But anyways, that mace, it's just kind of funny because if somebody were to pick it up and attack with it, it's going to heal them as well for 1d4. So it's possible you could hurt them really bad, but then you also heal them more so than you hurt them. Just something kind of funny. But the players did pick up this second note that has a new symbol on it, which is 5 colors. It's red, white, black, green, and blue. And yeah. And for those of you who aren't completely sure, I Googled Tiamat logos, and that's one of the ones that was in there. And so I decided to use that. And I did create a Temple of Tiamat. I did all the cutting for it, and shaping things out, and I did put my wife to work on painting it. Because she has a tendency to always say, oh, you should do this, or you should do that instead. And so now, when I notice things are going to be like that, I'm just like, hey, why don't you do that? she does. And then I don't have to worry about her telling me, you should have done it differently. So, anyways, worked out pretty well, but we did not get to that part. In fact, we ended the session after that big half-dragon battle, and everyone got their items, and I let them figure out what they did. So at the next session, they are going to be going and trying to track these guys down. And yeah, they got their new items. They did divvy up treasure. What did they get? The sorcerer, I believe, got the ring of necromantic damage, or necrotic resistance. The fighter got goggles of night. The wizard got the gloves of climbing and swimming, which gave him advantage for climb and swim checks, as well as you can move your max speed when you have these gloves on as well, when you're swimming or climbing. The half-orc fighter managed to get a maul plus what's called a lunar maul. So it does +1 to hit and damage when the moon is out. Let's see. The cleric got a rod of magic missiles. So yeah, so everyone pretty much got something cool. But I mean, the main fighter with damage resistance of 3 didn't, but he also was getting full plate for the next session. So, you know, he should be pretty happy. I mean, he's getting those goggles, but he's also getting full plate, or plate mail, or whatever. I don't remember exactly. But, you know, his armor class is going to go up, so that's good. And he got that off the half dragon. It's got to get tailored, and so it's going to take a couple days. to make it sized right. So that'll be cool. And it makes sense for his character. He's a very defensive fighter. So the heavy armor master, he's a sword and shield kind of fighter. Now he's going to have the big armor, so he's going to be pretty formidable. I think that's going to bump him. Let me double check. I want to say that's going to bump him to like a armor class of 20. And if that's the case, I mean, he's going to be really hard to hit. So, yeah, he's going to be armor class 20. So, armor class 20 with a damage reduction of 3 for non-magical attacks. So, I'll be able to start throwing some heavy hitters at these guys and see what happens. I mean, obviously, only one of them will be well suited to face these, but yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think the players, they'll still be 3rd level next session, but after next session, I fully expect them to be 4th level. And the next session is not something, I don't expect them to go and swing, I guess, because if they do, I feel like they're going to get destroyed. There'll be a couple little encounters, but then there's a huge part where they could just get wiped out. Kind of depends on them and what they decide to do. But yeah, so we'll see. But anyways, so that is it for this video. That was how things went last night. It went really well, much better than before. We did decide among the party that it's best to divide treasure up based on the D&D encounters method, which is anyone who wants it, they say they want it. Whoever has the least amount of magic items gets it, or items in general, like they've gotten from the treasure type deal, gets it. And then if say you're the only one that wants it, you get it automatically, no matter how many magic items you get. And in this, if there's a tie, you do a roll off with the D20, so it's completely up to chance in that situation. But this method makes it so people ultimately are getting things they want. They aren't forced to take things they don't want. And I told them, if there's items that nobody ends up wanting from this, you guys can sell it. We can use the Dungeon Master Guide way of finding a buyer and sell things. Or, there's other creative things we can do with it. So, I wanted them to know that there are still options. You don't have to get stuck with things you don't want. So we'll see what happens for next session. But the next session is, I think, going to be a lot of fun. And we're hosting that one at our house. So we'll see what happens. But next week, I'm running my other game at home, and I'm really looking forward to that one too. In fact, last time we ended the session, they decided, this is the Long Forgotten God campaign, the Forgotten God campaign, they decided they wanted to go to the Temple of Elementals. So this week I will be crafting that as well. Tomorrow I plan on showing you guys the finished Temple of Tiamat. And I say finished, but I actually do, now that I have like a month before the next game, I plan on adding a little more to the outside of it, because I haven't, right now it's just a tile for the temple, and then I have a plan for what I'm going to do outside. So I'm going to set it up how I was going to use it if we got that far last night, and then I'll explain what we are going to do before the next game with it. So I'm pretty excited about that, and so hope you guys are too. I think you guys will, find it pretty. Excuse me. I think you guys will find it pretty cool. I know I do, and the couple people I've sent pictures to thought it was pretty cool so far as well. So I'll set it up on my table and videotape it with some miniatures on it and show you guys what I did. And I hope you're looking forward to it as much as I am, because it'll be pretty cool. But that's it. So be sure to have a great night, and I will talk to you guys later. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.